once again. I wanted to come on because it is the Lion's Gate, and I want to talk about it a little bit and talk about another concept that came up the other day. So, if you do not know what the Lion's Gate is, the Lion's Gate is 8/8 every year. And because it happens in the time of Leo, and because it's like every month has that powerful date, 6/6, 7/7, 8/8, 9/9, 10/10, 11/11, 12/12, they call it the Lion's Gate. And it is a very powerful influx of power. It's a very powerful influx of taking our power back, of self-mastery. It is just a very big portal that opens up. Now, we talk a lot about different portals opening up. We talked about the summer solstice coming online, and when the summer solstice came online, we talked about that kind of bringing us to the Lion's Gate. So you would start getting downloads of what your next year might look like, more in the fact of clearing out things when we got to the summer solstice. And then once we got to the Lion's Gate, you would start to feel more and see more. Now, don't get too bogged in the linear date. A lot of these gates open up weeks, months before the actual date. But just in the term of linear time, we kind of have a marker. But remember, this stuff can open up weeks ahead. You know, I started feeling the Lion's Gate last week. Some people started feeling it 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, so it doesn't really matter on the linear date so much. It matters more what you're feeling and the push. So a lot of stuff that'll start going now, you'll start to see coming a little more in September, October, once you get to the fall equinox. Because even though we're not bound by time, there is a timeline for certain things to occur. There is a timeline where certain things are going to occur. So you'll probably start to see a correlation from the solstice to the Lion's Gate and into the fall. Whereas when I was doing more clearing over the summer solstice, and the fact of things that I could not take with me were getting very loud. Distortions will get very loud, and distortions basically just means the frequency of which you now vibrate. There are lots of other things in your reality that are not that frequency, and you have to align them. That's what a distortion really is. So I was shown a lot of distortions I had to work through to get to the next phase. So for me, it was more of a clearing, and I couldn't 100% see the next phase because every year I kind of get something else to master that goes into our 12-dimensional aspect. So I'm not going to get too much into here. I want to keep this on one other topic, and I might get into the 12-dimensional aspects a little bit later on, but I want to focus on one thing here that you might start to see beyond just the Lion's Gate and beyond just the clearing and moving in. So if you're still in the clearing phase, if you're starting to get a download of what your next year is going to look like, what you might be concentrating more on next year, and when we say concentrating on, we mean we're not just going to forget everything else. You kind of get all this other stuff to do, and now we're going to add one more thing on. So the minute you feel like you just about master one thing, you get something else to do. So that's more of what the ascension process continues to be after a while, but you're starting to do things from your higher aspect. You're doing things from the highest aspect that you can reach at that moment. Everything we do, we're doing from the highest aspect we can reach in that moment, in that space. We might be able to reach it higher tomorrow, but in that moment, we're the highest we can be. It's the highest consciousness we can achieve. That's why, and that's based on our frequency. Our base frequency of what we've embodied. What we can hold now and what looks aligned now might not be aligned 2 months from now. And that's where our human starts to struggle with having to realign something, and then we're going to realign it again, and then we're going to tear it down, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to continue to do that. And that can get exhausting after a while. So most of my videos are more practical on not so much how-tos, maybe some how-tos, but when you recognize when you're going through the tear-down process, and how much linear time it can feel for the rebuild process. And when you're starting to clear up, it can take 7 to 10 years to just clear up your old human timelines. I know I started my awakening in around 2013, and by 2020, when I was really starting 100% in the soul line realities and building them back, I was trying to finish up most of my human stuff over a 7-year period. And you find as time goes on, you go a little bit faster. It goes a little bit quicker because you focus on it. You know what you need to do to get things done. And even when we're doing that, it can take a lot of time. But I've had a couple videos that cover that lately, so I don't want to kind of repeat that. But I do want to go on a talk about vibration and consciousness and how this can get a little confusing for us for a while, because we can you hear everyone say these buzzwords, right? Oh, high vibes, good vibes, I love your energy, and it feels kind of, when people say that, you're like, yeah, that has a good feeling to it, energy vibes, it's not consciousness, okay? There's two kind of different, your vibration, your energy affects your consciousness. It's part of your consciousness, but the consciousness you've achieved is not just having a good vibration, or it's not liking someone's energy. I'm going to paint that picture a little bit more, because as we start to kind of delve into who we bring in our life, what realities we create, we start running into these subtle little things that we would think when we were human didn't seem to matter. I remember when I would talk to people years ago, one of the questions I'd always hear was, when someone asked what I would do and I talked to them about it, they go, oh, well, do I have good energy? Is my energy bad? It was more of that. Is my energy bad? And I was like, no one has bad energy. People might not resonate with you. I might not resonate with one person over another person, but that doesn't mean my energy's bad or their energy's bad. We just don't resonate. We don't have we don't resonate, right? We don't have a common frequency match. We don't have energetic signatures that match. It's not 100% there. What you're going to find is the ones that don't match are kind of the easy ones, right? We're like, well, we just didn't resonate. And people will say, oh, I didn't like their vibe. Oh, I didn't like, the way they were. It just means it didn't resonate. There's no judgment on any of it. It's just it didn't resonate. Well, we're not in the same vibration. We're not in the same frequency. But what happens when you get someone and you do like their energy? And you do like, some people in our human realities, we would call it energy. We might call it their spirit. We might call it, just something about them, right? I used to have a boyfriend years and years ago when I was still doing the boyfriend thing, that said, I kind of just glowed, to him. And when he'd see me, I kind of had a shimmer around me. But to him, I did, because my vibration was something that attracted him in. But it goes more into some twin flame stuff too. We can kind of identify the people that we love their energy. And I even past that point, I've had a lot of people where I really like their energy. I really like being with them in a sense. But that does not mean your consciousness is the same. That does not mean we had the same consciousness. I do enjoy their energy. I did not enjoy their consciousness. And those are two separate things that in our human existence, they felt like the same. But when you start getting more and more into this, you're going to notice that shit is not the same. And why isn't that the same? Why can't it be the same? Why can I enjoy someone's energy, but when I get to their consciousness, we're just too far apart. We're too far apart to really hold a reality. We're too far apart and I'm going to use the word compromise here, because the person of the higher consciousness would have to compromise to stay in a reality with someone who was at a completely different consciousness level. You can have an energetic signature that's similar. You can have a twin flame energetic signature that is very similar. You can have a galactic signature. You can have the same galactic name that you might have felt very strongly toward. It means you have very similar DNA lineage as far as your galactic lineage, as far as your different soul contracts you might have had with them. And we're going to call them contracts when you're in your human existence, and we're going to call them agreements when we get more into our soul aligned realities, because when we switch the word from contract to an agreement, there's more of a consciousness there of what we're agreeing to do, and also opening up someone else of what they agreed to do, and if they are still wanting to do that, instead of everyone doing it from that unconscious place, from their subconscious, we kind of bring it conscious. We take that agreement, we take that contract and make it, now it's an agreement, and do you still want to do this? So you're going to find there's a lot of people who you like their energy. There's a lot of people who you vibe with. I'm trying to think of every buzzword I can think of that I see all the time, It feels, I don't like positive and negative because they're very dichotomy, but when you're in a human reality, it's a dichotomy reality. It's dualistic reality. So we're going to use it here. It has a positive feel. You love being around this person. You love, being in their energy, whether it's twin flame, whether it's galactic family, whether it's soul family. But their consciousness isn't the same. And they're not in the same vibrational consciousness. They might have some similar energetic signatures, which makes their vibration something you enjoy, their energy something you enjoy, but their frequency, their consciousness overall is too far apart from yours. So what happens then? Why do those feel like, once again, I'm going to use words I don't normally use. Our human's going to feel it as a loss. Now our human's going to say, God, that sucks. I had one of those not too long ago. And I'm like, I really wish, a couple I've had lately. And you're going to find more and more as you start to rebuild, and you're very picky on who you bring in. You really enjoy being around them. Like I said, whether it's for any of the reasons I listed, whether it's a twin flame marker, whether it's any of those other things. But when you start really looking at it from a consciousness level on where they are, whether they're still playing in the fourth dimension, whether they're just getting into the fifth dimension where everything is love and light, but they haven't really done anything yet, and they're not really ready yet to put boots on the ground and start anchoring in realities. They still want to float and run around and talk about how beautiful the skies are. And not that we don't do that once you get to the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th realms, because we do, but it also has some work involved there. We understand we have to anchor things in. But when you're in the beginning of the fifth dimension, you're just opening up to the different colors and how beautiful everything feels, and your eyes start to get lighter, your voice starts to shift. It's a different space, and I did a video about having there's even different consciousness levels within dimensions. I mean, you can be with someone who you love being with their energy, but their consciousness level might be the beginning of the fourth dimension. You're leaving the fourth dimension, and it's just too much of a chasm to kind of bridge, because there's too much compromise involved. When you start to partner with people, and we're not talking about human partnership, I'm not talking about human marriage, I'm not talking about any of the human agreements, right? I'm not talking about human love. I'm talking about divine partnership. I'm talking about partnership with someone to increase everyone's awareness, right? Because sometimes we get to a point where we can go farther if we pair up. And like I said, that doesn't mean romantic. Most of the time in ascended realities, it's not going to be romantic. It's going to be for a creation, to create something, to do something together, to help each other work through programs, to help each other get to the next stage in their ascension process. And you do see people start to couple up. And like I said, not romantic. It can be girl-girl, it can be boy-boy, it can be boy-girl. I don't want you to get bogged down on any of the human identities, any of that stuff. It's just when you meet someone and you're like, okay, I want to help you come through this. I'm going to assist you coming through this, or they're going to assist you coming through this. But it's a partnership that everyone's agreeing to and understand, to the extent someone's in the beginning, they don't understand. We just might know. The person that's anchored in more, embodied in more of a higher consciousness aspect might know, okay, this is the person I'm supposed to bring through. And I'm going to be in here for the long haul. And they know deep down somewhere, even though they might not know it consciously yet, and it might not be your space to tell them until they get farther down the road. But okay, yeah, this is the person I'm supposed to bring through. And I'm going to be with them through all their stuff until we get here. Now, understanding that, you also know that if they have not gone through their dark night of the soul, you're going to go through that with them. Any of the karma they still have or are now still creating, until you can guide, educate on how not to do that anymore, you're going to go through that with them too. But you take all that on because this is the person. And for some people, it's more than one. For what I've seen lately, it seems to be kind of one person that you kind of just know, this is my person. This is the person I'm going to carry through And then whether they stay with you forever or not, but you know it's a longer haul, and then they might then carry someone else through. Getting too far down the road of what happens after that, because ascension can take so many years, and even when we think we're at a place, we just get to where we can clear quicker, we're still clearing. So these types of partnerships are not like human partnerships, and they're where you might really love their energy, and you just kind of know that yes, their consciousness might not be there, but I know. And there are other people where you look at it and say, but they also are all in to a point too, and they might not 100% know yet, but they want to be there. The rub is when we get to the certain souls that we meet that it's not kind of their time yet. They're still really living from their human, and they like your vibe, right? We're going to use all the buzzwords again. So they like your energy, they like your vibe. They're not so sure about your consciousness, they don't really understand it, but they don't really want to shift theirs, and they want to still play in their human stuff. The worst thing about ascension and trying to align realities, and worst thing, but one of the more challenging things that we learn to do is we can't take everyone with us. We have to respect where people are. We have to respect their journey. We have to respect what they're doing. We have to respect their DNA markers and where they're going to be at certain times. And that's where we have to look at the compromise. If we're going to always act as their highest self, and that's what this person is signing up for, the other person signs up for us to be our higher self and bring them through as our higher self, not as our human self, that's different than when we're with someone, we love their energy, but they don't want to play in that right now. They want to go do their human stuff. There's something about loving humanity, but not loving a human aspect and living with the human aspect that wants to stay human, that doesn't want to ascend yet. It's not their time yet to ascend. They might want you in their life, but they want you in their life in a human capacity. They want you to be you, but they don't want to shift who they are, which we know won't work over time. The killer the killer of having to, the hardest thing about ascending is actually the human realities that are set up. We have to ascend. We have to find new ways. We have to align our life on a soul level without being involved in the human realities, without being involved in the human systems. It makes it more challenging for us to work through things, because everyone is so bound by the human beliefs and human systems. We have to work around all that. Humans are and when I say humans, I mean anyone operating in their human aspect. They are the biggest challenge to overcome. We have to ascend despite of them. We have to ascend despite of humans, despite of all that kind of stuff, but not in the same we blame them, because we were them too. We were them at one time also. So it's just kind of something else we have to deal with. And that's when we talk about different consciousness levels, and when we talk about where everybody is. You would think someone in the fifth dimension coming through, their energy's beautiful, they're soft, they're, I know when I was in that space, my voice had a softer kind of fluffiness to it. I had a much, I hadn't brought a lot of my galactic power through. So I definitely had a little bit softerness to me. Though I do kind of go more divine feminine anyway. I have a little bit of a softerness to me in general than some other people that come through in different ways. But everyone kind of takes on, some people are just more masculine when they come through than other people. But I don't want to be around somebody in the fifth dimension talking about how I just don't want to be around. I can't do it. I don't want to be around that. It's too much. It's too foo-foo-y. It's too soft. Can I love their energy? Can it be beautiful? Can sometimes it even be inspiring for, a couple hours to spend with someone in that place? Do I talk to a lot of people coming through to that place and can assist them in their next phase? Sure. Do I want to bridge a reality with that person? unless I'm 100% sure they're on board for the next phases or how long that would take, or that I feel like I'm supposed to be there for that. So you kind of start to see, like, yeah, they're still vibrationally beautiful to be around, but their consciousness is so far from where my consciousness is, we're still bridging a huge gap. And when you start to look at bridging those huge gaps, that's when you really have to look. Is this person going to be all in? Does this person really want to do this? Is this person spinning their wheels a bit? And they might spin their wheels for a couple of years before they really want to go on to the next thing. Look if it's a compromise for you to stay there. Is it a compromise in a sense that you're going to have to go small? You're going to have to, and you'll know when you do it. There was a person I used to do it around all the time, because I so wanted that person to want to come through and wanted to expand their consciousness, and they just were not there yet. And it was a lot of the twin flame stuff going on too, all entangled in there. It was a big entangled mess is what it was. But we have to go through those relationships, those twin relationships, to see the distortion, to see kind of the misery of them, to get to where we want to develop the divine partnership with a person. But when you see that and you feel yourself kind of going small because you kind of have your heart set on one person, because you do have that energetic similar signature, and there's a hope. Anytime you say the word hope or faith, you kind of know it's dead in the water. Those are kind of very disempowering words. They're not words that we use in an empowering space, when you say, oh, I hope, oh, I wish, oh, I have so much faith that'll work out. It's not an empowering position, because you kind of know. You kind of know that it's so far we got to go. It's funny because one of the last things the person said to me the last time I saw them, which was years ago, because you'll find twins can come in and out, and then you might not see them for years and years, and they might come back, they might not. But I mean, technically everyone's a twin, but we kind of tend to, kind of pick out certain people, that we're like, yeah, that was a big twin relationship. The ones that seem to have helped us clear the most stuff are usually the ones that are the ones we remember in a fond place from a soul level, but from a human level, when we go back and go, yeah, that was kind of rough. That was kind of rough, because anyone who really glorifies that twin relationship will eventually realize that they are not, they are not Cinderella stories everybody wants them to be. Listen to what they say. I remember it was something else we talked about, and the person said, oh, it'll be a long time. And they were talking about something completely different, but those words resonated with me later. Like, yeah, it could be decades. It could be decades before, you're even ready for this next thing and want to go to the next step, or want to actually, it's time for you. It's time. Their DNA starts going off. Their world starts collapsing. Because it's the thing when people's world starts collapsing, everyone wants to look for the person who talks about all the weird shit, because they'll understand. Where'd she go? Where'd the weird girl go? Because now my shit's falling apart. There's a part about it all falling apart, and then a part about working through that, you're clearing a lot of your stuff. You keep working on yourself. If you haven't really seen someone who wants to work on themselves or has done some of that work, bridging that consciousness chasm is going to be a big deal. So I think that about sums up what I wanted to say about that. So if you're in that space and you feel kind of a little bit of that pull, and we kind of feel like if you like their energy, they're supposed to stay forever. And energy's not consciousness. It's not. And so put that aside, because you can love someone's energy and not be able to tolerate the consciousness, and also knowing that they're not in a place for that consciousness to shift. And then that's not where they want to go right now. And that's not where they're supposed to go right now. They might just meet you, and you're just an activation for them, and they'll go off for maybe years and years and years and continue to live out their human template, continue to live out what they were supposed to do from their human Akash, what they wanted to finish up and what they still had agreements to do. And then you might see them years and years and years down the road. You might never see them again. Either way, it's how it's supposed to be. But really look at, am I going small? Am I going to compromise to stay here because I have the energy stuff going on. I have all the cords of attachment to this person. I really like them, but. And if there's a but in there, it's a compromise. And it's important to look at that too. If I like them, but I gotta compromise so much, and you'll feel that, and you'll know that it's too much. It's too much to bridge, and I'm not supposed to. Because if they're not willing to bridge anything, and they want everything to stay the way they want it to stay, and they want you to kind of fit in there, and you know that's not what you're supposed to do, you have to go with how you feel about it. And don't feel, I'll close with the, I think I said this, I don't know if it was last time, but the time before. If you feel aligned in what you're doing, don't second guess that because someone did not respond the way you wanted them to. You know, just because they don't chase after you doesn't mean you did not do what was aligned for you in that moment. That's the most important thing to remember. Do what feels aligned for you. You'll know what that is. It's hard. You can't pre-plan these things. You can't go in there and say, I want to say all this stuff to this person, and this is what I'm going to say. You have to go organically with how you feel in the moment. What feels appropriate for you to do consciously from my highest aspect? What is the most appropriate action for me to take right now? Is it to stay here? Is it to try to bridge this? Is it to bring this, help assist bringing this person through? Or is it not? We talk about bringing through the collectives. And there's a lot of, whenever people, like what I do, what other people do when they do videos, they're technically helping the collective. They're putting all this information out for the collectives to come through. But on an individual level, there might be one person that you're going to bring through in a massive way. But the person you're with right now might not be that person. And that goes into having to let a lot of this old stuff go. And understanding that your ascended life won't look like your human life. It's not supposed to. That's the point, really. The point is to leave that stuff behind, not try to drag it with you. While it keeps, cause all that stuff keeps us pulled down into the lower realities. A lower consciousness reality. Not lower from a place of judging it, but not where we're supposed to be. So, okay. I'll see everyone next time. Hope that helped. Enjoy the Lionsgate. What else can I say? I don't think I can say anything else about the Lionsgate. The cat did come up to join me for the Lionsgate, as she does love the Lionsgate. Okay. Bye.